Monkeys in a Pod is powered by Parkinson's UK, the charity that's here to support every Parkinson's journey every step of the way. Wherever you're from, whatever you need, visit parkinsons.org.uk for more information.
Ahoy, me hearties. Welcome on board the good ship Parkinson's. I'm Dave, he's Kuhan, together we have the dreaded Logie for 28 years. Kuhan, you're still smiling after beating me at tennis the other day.
Aye, Captain. Yes, I did. For the first time in 9 months, almost 10 months, actually. Crazy, right?
It was amazing what happened because I was 4-love up in games and then you decided to turn your DBS off, came back 1-7-5. Crazy.
Absolutely nuts, wasn't it? I can't explain it. I really can't explain it, but what I ended up doing was I brought the controller with me and I was losing 4-0 and I was getting so frustrated. I couldn't hit the ball over the net, literally, even just for a single...
You hit the edge of the racket and stuff. It was really weird,
Yeah, even just for a simple
terrible
knockabout. I was very robotic. So I thought, I've tried everything else. Let me just try switching it off because you could do that with DBS. Not advisable. First time outside the clinic. It was a bit scary, to be honest with you, but I showed you how to switch me back on in case I couldn't switch myself back on the controller and switch myself off. My movement was completely different. A lot more natural in many ways and a lot slower and a lot more parkified in many ways. But I ended up winning in the end, 7-5. Remarkable.
When you turn the DBS off, your face sort of dropped a bit and your back arched. But your movement was good when you were chasing the ball. It was if you hadn't got Parkinson's for time. It's quite incredible what happened.
My body just felt twice as heavy. I was just stooped over. My tremor I couldn't control. I was just in so much pain. But yeah, in a weird way, it was that thing that Harith was describing when he was on the podcast.
The brain surgeon, yeah.
The brain surgeon, when he was talking about some sort of paradoxical kinesia. I think I've said that wrong, but the scenario where, if you're in a fire or you're chasing a ball or, you can do it if you have to. And I was doing it in a more natural way than the robotic way where my arms were close to my body, which is what DBS is doing to me to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, it's changed my life for the better in all other ways apart from tennis. But now I know the secret. So I'll take my controller with me every time now.
I'll be able to turn you off whenever I want now. I'll nick it and turn you off.
No. I need to put a pin code on it or something. Face ID or something. Don't let you near it. I think is the trick, right? But yeah, it was just quite an interesting experience. The other interesting experience I've had with my DBS recently, I've had my adaptive DBS turned on last month.
Right. Explain what that is for people who don't know.
So
you've got four electrodes in your brain, haven't you?
Yeah. So, and they're delivering continuous stimulation all the time. So even when I'm sleeping or playing tennis or as I speak to you right now, it's delivering a continuous level of stimulation, same level. What adaptive does is reading your brain signals and it knows, or it should know what a tremor is, and it should know what on one end of the scale, and it should know what dyskinesia is on the other end of the scale, and it should adapt accordingly. So when I've got a tremor, what it will do is it will dial it up a bit. When I've got dyskinesia, it will dial it down a bit. And I've got a very narrow band set within which it's adapting. The problem is it's not quite working, and it sent me a little bit diskinetic, so I switched it off for the time being.
Very clever, though, isn't it?
It's very clever
technology.
on paper, but I think the team think, and I think, it's slightly overhyped now, to be honest with you. Because I'm getting most of the benefit just from the regular stimulation. It's like going, I'm trying to think of analogies, it's like going from a manual car to an automatic car. Where sometimes you actually want the manual control, don't you? You want the manual gears, or
sometimes you want a basic model, don't you? So you know how things work. You don't want the auto park and all that sort of stuff because there's lots of stuff to go wrong.
Exactly, and also things that are outside of my control now. Whereas on the controller, like I said, I can turn it on and off. I can dial it up, dial it down manually. I kind of maybe it's the control freak in me, but I kind of prefer doing it that way. And anyway, what the team told me and what I've read is that it might be better for the slightly stiffer, slower type of parky as opposed to the tremor dominant parky, which is what I am. And I've heard that in practice as well from people that don't have a tremor at all. It's worked very well for them. So maybe that's the secret. I don't know. But anyway, I'm very happy with my DBS in all aspects apart from my tennis. And now I can just switch it off. That's the beauty, right, of DBS. There's the beauty of these advanced sort of treatments that you can have this sort of level of control. As you may be finding out shortly, Dave, right? You're going down a certain route.
I don't think shortly, but yeah, I've my first DBS appointment, which was good. I felt like I was getting great attention at UCLH.
It's a different level of care, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw a nurse for 40 minutes and she tested my movement, my walking, my hands, whether I could balance and things. And then asked loads of questions about me. And then I saw a neuro doctor as well. And he was great and just chatted away and said, he thought I was undermedded, which he's put me on apicapone instead of entacapone, Al Capone as well. But yeah.
Go on.
But anything with pone, I'm on it. So. Yeah, it was very good. And I'm just in the early stages. He said it'd be over a year until I get DBS if it happens. My meds aren't working as well as they were. I'm on for shorter periods now. So I think I'm an ideal candidate in many ways, but we'll wait and see. But all good.
All good. And in the meantime, because of that long wait, they've offered you a potential alternative or interim.
Yeah, they've offered me a pump. They've offered me a pump if so to speak.
Strange.
It's
but it is a different level of care, isn't it, Dave?
Pump technology. It's a small pump which delivers a bit of the drug all day long. You attach to your stomach and you have a little pump by your side. We're going to find out more about that now, aren't we?
Well, yeah, coincidentally, that's the subject today, isn't it? This episode what are we calling this, Dave?
Pump it up.
Pump it up. We are talking about the Produodopa pump. It is a little bit confusing. There's a lot of myths out there, a little bit like DBS, and we've had to turn to a certain type of professor for some guidance. And what you're about to hear, believe it or not, is Professor AI. Tell me about the Produodopa pump.
The Produodopa pump is a device used for people with advanced Parkinson's. It continuously delivers a combination of levodopa and carbidopa, helping maintain steady medication levels. By smoothing out those on-off fluctuations, it can improve symptom control when oral medications alone aren't enough. It does require careful daily management, but it can make a real difference for some folks.
So it's more suitable for people with advancing Parkinson's, say after the first few years? Is that right?
Exactly. It's generally considered when someone's been on oral medication for quite a while, but those meds just aren't smoothing things out anymore. If motor fluctuations, like off periods where symptoms return, become too hard to manage with pills, that's when options like this pump come into play. The medication's in a gel-like or liquid form, so it can flow smoothly through the pump and tubing. That way, it's continuously delivered at a steady rate under your skin or directly into the intestine, depending on the system.
So does the patient have to inject themselves every day?
Not exactly injecting in the way you'd think. Usually, the patient places a small, thin cannula under the skin, often in the morning. Once it's set up, the pump handles continuous delivery throughout the day. So it's more like a daily routine of setting up the infusion site rather than repeatedly injecting.
But the patient will have something going into their body, right? Into their stomach, presumably?
Yes, exactly. There's a small tube often going into the small intestine if it's the intestinal form. In that case, it's placed by a healthcare professional. But with the Produodopa, if it's the subcutaneous version, it goes just under the skin. So yes, there's a little line delivering the medication. You manage that line daily, but you're not doing deep injections yourself beyond that routine setup. The Produodopa uses a tiny needle or cannula that sits just under your skin, often in the abdomen or thigh. It's a small daily insertion, and then the pump delivers the medication steadily through that little subcutaneous line.
Does it hurt?
It's usually more of a mild discomfort than real pain. People say it's a bit like a little pinch when you insert it, and then it settles. Of course, everyone's sensitivity is different, but it's designed to be manageable once you get into the routine. The idea is that continuous delivery helps for a longer period than oral megs alone, but if things change, your doctor can adjust the infusion rates or explore other options.
Does it work for controlling dyskinesia as well?
It can help. Dyskinesia often happens when dopamine levels swing up and down. Since the pump provides a steady, continuous dose, it can reduce those swings. It's not a guaranteed fix, but many people find it helps smooth out dyskinesia along with those off periods.
And how does it differ from DBS?
So they're both options for advanced Parkinson's, but they work pretty differently. The Produodopa pump is more about continuous medication delivery, basically fine-tuning the drug levels in your system. Deep brain stimulation, or DBS, involves surgery to place electrodes in specific brain areas. Those electrodes send electrical pulses to help control symptoms. In short, the pump adjusts the meds, while DBS adjusts the brain signals directly.
I've had DBS. Can I also get the pump as well as my DBS, or is it one or the other?
You can have both, actually. Some people with DBS still experience motor fluctuations or need extra symptom control. In some cases, a pump can complement DBS by fine-tuning medication delivery. Of course, it's something to discuss with your neurologist or movement disorder team to see if that combo is right for you.
And do I stop taking oral medication if I have the new pump?
In most cases, the pump is actually intended to replace or reduce your oral levodopa. The goal is to maintain steady medication levels via continuous infusion. Your specialist will guide you, but the idea is to rely on the pump instead of taking multiple daily pills.
And what are the side effects?
Some possible side effects include irritation or redness where the cannula goes in, some swelling or nodule formation under the skin. More broadly, as with any levodopa therapy, you could still experience dyskinesias, involuntary movements, or nausea. But your care team will help monitor and adjust things if any side effects become an issue.
Well, I'm used to irritations, to be honest with you, because I hang out with Dave all the time.
Well, if you can handle Dave's teasing, you've already got resilience. But seriously, if your care team thinks it's a good fit, it can give steadier symptom control. So maybe fewer off times to distract you while you're out bantering Dave. It's all about finding what helps you stay on top of things.
Okay, thank you very much. And just lastly, can I ask you, who is the better, funnier, more handsome presenter of Two Parkies in the Pod, me or Dave?
You know I'm not going to pick sides. You and Dave are the dynamic duo that make the whole thing work. Without both of your banter and charm, we wouldn't have Two Parkies in a Pod. So let's just say you each bring your own flair, and we need both.
Yeah, I get that. But come on, if you had to choose, who, me or Dave?
I appreciate the fun, but honestly, I'm team balance. The magic is in the duo. You'd be missing something without each other's quirks. So in my book, no winner, just two legends in one pod. What matters most is that you're making an impact and having a laugh while you do it. So keep rocking it.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful. See you later. Love you.
You're very welcome. Always happy to help. Take care and see you next time.
That was ChatGPT. Kind of scary, right, Dave? Listening to that.
Very scary. It's the only one who'll talk to you these days. Me and her. But that is really weird, though, isn't it? You know, we fact checked it as well, and it was all right. So
it was all right. Well, it took a bit of effort to get it right. It kept talking about the older pumps, and it was getting confused, and it was spitting out some wrong information. So initially, but I pieced it together to give the right information. But it goes to show it can be quite useful if you use it right. But just be careful and check this stuff. Just like Dr. Google, Professor AI is. Has its place, but just be a bit wary of this sort of stuff. But, you know, I spent about 10 minutes talking to it, and that's like half the consultation on time I'd get a year with my actual professor, right? So it just goes to show.
Best conversation you've had in years.
We did want to use a little clip because it's a bit confusing talking about pumps and the Produodopa pump. And we want to give you the clinical view, the professor view of a kind, before we talk to our two guests today. First one of which is Anna.
Anna Jewell, yeah, who's had a pump fitted, and it seems to be working pretty well for her. Let's find out what happened. Anna Jewell, welcome to Two Parkies in a Pod.
Thank you very much for having me. Nice to be here.
Just tell us about your diagnosis story and a bit about yourself.
So I was diagnosed in January 2020, so a slightly odd time to be diagnosed, just before the pandemic, but in some ways it was kind of good because I kind of felt like I'd gone into a strange reality, and then it felt like everyone else went into a strange reality. So kind of felt like then I joined back in with everyone after that diagnosis. So yeah, diagnosed in January 2020. So I've been living with Parkinson's for about 6 years now. I have sort of two daughters, teenage daughters that I live with, my husband and my dog, Brady. And I work for a charity, a pancreatic cancer charity. I'm a director there, and I look after the sort of support services we provide, the research we fund, and the campaigning we do to get better care for people with pancreatic cancer.
We'll come back to pancreatic cancer bit because it's actually quite an interesting story and quite an interesting condition, and the role that you have there sounds very interesting, and perhaps some overlap to Parkinson's charities as well. But can I ask you, you told me your diagnosis story by way of a holiday. Disneyland, wasn't it? Something about a
Oh,
Disneyland
yes, it
holiday?
was. Yeah.
Mickey Mouse
Yes.
diagnosed you.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse. They came up and said, "I think." I've been having some very strange symptoms, which I guess is familiar to lots of us. But what I now know probably is with dystonia, my fingers just kind of locking in, and then my arms just feeling really heavy and just not feeling right, not feeling myself. Kind of hard to explain. A bit more anxious than I had been. And I kept looking at various symptoms, not sure what was going on. And then I was we went to Disneyland on a big family holiday. And I ended up just, browsing in a queue on the BBC and saw an article about a younger woman that had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and talking about a little kind of slight tremor in her finger being the first sign. And I could see mine sort of doing that a little bit. And I kind of read the article and just had this kind of feeling inside, thinking, I think that's it. I think that is what I have. But then I thought, actually, I can't do anything about it right now. I'm going to just try and put that away for the rest of the holiday, and then deal with that kind of when I get back. And also started to sort of limp a little bit. My arm had stopped swinging so much on my right hand side. My husband noticed when I got home. It actually took quite a long time after that still to get the actual diagnosis. The GP
Didn't your GP kind of dismiss it?
Yeah, said I was too young, so they had health anxiety. I'd never really had health anxiety before, not really had much anxiety before. And my aunt also had Parkinson's, so he just kept sort of saying, no, you've got anxiety. So I spent quite a lot of months, in a sense, kind of hoping it was just anxiety. That would have been a much better kind of like de-stress and calm myself down and do lots of things like that. And just thinking maybe if I can just relax more, because my muscles felt quite tense, I guess, maybe this will get better. But yeah, obviously over the months, gradually things got worse and my walking gait got worse, and it just became more tricky to manage.
You mentioned your auntie had it. Was that the only connection?
My aunt, yes, that was the only connection, yeah. But yes, I guess I just, work in health, so I ended up doing quite a lot of Googling. I know sometimes I tell you not to Google the symptoms of things. I guess it would be ChatGPT these days. But some of the symptoms just seem to fit. As I said, I did find it weird to describe some of the symptoms. And I think that's one of the problems when you kind of go to GP, you can't describe them very well. They all sound a bit odd and add up together. But I think what was frustrating was probably to be so dismissed and kind of written off as just having health anxiety when I clearly didn't. But yeah.
Have you been back to that GP and said to him, look, I told you there was something wrong. It was something a little bit more than...
No, I haven't. And I would do now, I probably should do now. I think at the beginning I was just so cross with it all, and actually just couldn't, almost like the idea of just like seeing him again just made me too cross. And actually I remember like my husband had to take one of the daughters in to the GP, and it was him that came up as the doctor, and I was like, you've got to take her in, I just can't.
You couldn't face him?
No. I don't know
because
why.
Because of the trauma of him, how he treated you mean?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of, he tried to have a really nice manner and things. It wasn't like he was rude, but I think it was just that insistence that it was just health anxiety. I just had to sort of worry about it.
I've got a GP that sort of ignores me now, who misdiagnosed me, said it's definitely not Parkinson's. And she sort of hides away when I go to the GP surgery now. She never sees me, so, oh dear. Just gives me a look and goes, oh, sorry, I got it wrong,
What, the same original GP?
Yeah.
Oh, I changed my GP quickly after, to be honest with you. Once he told me to stop drinking coffee and that was my only problem, then I thought there's got to be better options out there. And you can change your GP, right? Don't forget. Yeah. Was there a physio involved in your diagnosis, Anna? There
was actually, yeah. I went to, because I was having lots of problems with my walking and things, and in the end I ended up going to see a physio who was brilliant. I mean, she kind of just got me to walk up and down the room a couple of times, just a few things, and then just said to me, trying to be as calm as possible, just said, I think you need to see a neurologist, and I will write a really strong letter to your GP saying that's what I think. That's what needs to happen. And, obviously that was quite scary. And I said, do you think it's something that, will be reversible or fixable? I can't remember how I said it. And I saw in her face that she didn't necessarily think it was. So, yeah. And I didn't at that point say, do you think it's Parkinson's? I don't know why I didn't. I think it's just you get maybe a bit of a fear again. But yeah, she was the one that really pushed for me. Yeah.
And when did you first hear the word Parkinson's? Was it the neurologist then?
Yeah, we then were lucky enough that, because there was a long waiting list on the NHS, and luckily my husband had private healthcare insurance, so we ended up getting faster through to see them, and it was kind of the first at the first appointment with the private specialist, he kind of again wanted me to walk up and down, do a couple of things, and said, I really do think it's Parkinson's. We'll get you in for an MRI. But we kind of felt like that he knew. We came away from that appointment thinking that's what it is. He just thought it kind of explained everything. Yeah.
And you were with your husband at the time when you got that news, right?
Yeah.
You can tell by your voice it's still quite emotional.
Yeah, I don't know. You only I don't think about it that much, and then when you go back, you think, oh, yeah. I mean, it's all like after Christmas, and
I think when it hits you the most, because you've told me this story a couple of times now, is when you've had to break it to others, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's all right now, but I think telling my children,
twins, right, Anna?
Yeah, twins, and they were they're 16 now, so about 10 at the time. Yeah.
And you told them pretty much straight away?
We did, just because always felt like we've been quite a kind of open family with them, talked about a lot of things. They'd actually, for young kids, had actually sadly gone through quite a few, experiences. Of my dad had died when they were very young, but also they'd had, tragically, someone die in their school while they were there. Lots of things happen around them, parents with cancer and things, of friends. So it kind of felt like you could see they were a bit worried about what was going on while we kept disappearing off to appointments. So we just thought it was best to be as honest as we could be. I think, their biggest concern is this something you're going to die from, which obviously, hopefully not for a very, very, very long time. So, I guess that reassured them to a degree.
It's tough, right?
Yeah.
Mine was 7 and 4 when I was diagnosed. They just sort of always known I've got Parkinson's now. We just sort of talked about it there and then, and they were fine. So.
Yeah. I guess 7 and 4 is young enough not to appreciate the enormity in a way, which is that better than being 10, where you're kind of a little bit wiser, a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it depends on the child, isn't it? Really.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't. Different kids will react in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of almost sort of taken it in their stride, or they seem to. It just becomes, I think, as you said, Dave, sort of part of life to them. And obviously, I think once I started on levodopa medication, things started to improve, and I was able to do a lot more with them again. And I think that was probably their main concern, I guess. And I think sometimes their main concern is just, can you, drive me around to my friend's house? Can you drop me off here? Can you take me there? So, once I could do a bit more of that again, it became more normal for them.
Yeah. And you're still driving, you're still working, 6 years on from the diagnosis. So the levodopa obviously worked to a point.
Mm.
And then that point became... Well, you tell the story. What happened then after the first few years?
Yeah, so I responded really well to the levodopa sort of to begin with, and that seemed all fine. And then I had to be on quite a low dose. I'm quite a short person, quite petite, so I don't know if that is an impact, but quite a low dose to kind of, otherwise, it felt like too much in the system. And I think just after a few years, it began to get like slightly, I could see it kind of wearing off a little bit, and I was put on Stavilo, or a brand of that with the
Entacapone,
as part of it, to help lengthen the doses. And that again worked quite well for about a year or so. And then I think that started to wear off a little bit more. I started to have a few more problems, I guess, particularly with eating in the middle of the day. Food became a little bit more of a problem. And then I moved on to being put onto Apicapone instead, which I didn't, which I guess felt quite strong for me. It's like a dose a day. I think it also got tied in with that. I'd been on holiday to Morocco. I picked up H. pylori. Everything just sort of started to not kind of work as well as medication. And then I just started to get more problems with, sort of motor fluctuations, a bit more wearing off with food, and then getting much more dyskinesia as well.
Picked up what in Morocco?
H. pylori. It's like a bacteria.
What's that?
It's a bacteria part of the stomach thing, and some people think that it can then impact on your ability to like absorb levodopa. Not everyone thinks that. There's some papers in it, there's some not. So I did try then. It's pretty hefty antibiotic you have to have. Like a gut parasite, I guess. Yeah.
Is that from food? Eating fresh vegetables and stuff? Is that?
I guess so. Yeah. I thought I'd try to be careful, but whether I'd brushed my teeth with the wrong water or something, I don't know. But
right.
I came back from Morocco with friends feeling quite unwell for a couple of weeks, and then didn't think about it for a few months or 6 months or so, and then I was still feeling quite unwell, and I think I saw something about getting checked for that bug, or read something, I think, about its connection as well, so I thought I'd have that looked into, but whether that was connected, I don't know. But yeah, things just sort of got worse. And then I think for me, then it just became, much more dyskinetic, which was difficult. And particularly, I found that everything was sort of building up in my system over the day. So by the end of the day, I think whether I was putting too much in, I'd get very dyskinetic by the evening and not be able to do very much at all, which became quite, it was hard then to go out and see friends or go out and do anything in the evening, which was just quite upsetting and just hard, I guess, with family life as well.
Mm. And hence you started looking for other possible treatments, or did they raise it? By they, I mean a doctor or a neurologist or a nurse.
So my consultant raised it. She obviously said, someone with young onset Parkinson's, you can have more issues with motor fluctuations and responding to sort of levodopa treatment, and particularly in terms of the dyskinesia and things. I tried, I think, amantadine as well. I tried and didn't get on with it as well to help with the dyskinesia. So she just said, obviously, I think at that point, it wasn't long after NICE had approved the Produodopa pump. And said, started talking to me about that and said, we could try that because it seems like your brain doesn't respond well to the peaks and troughs. I guess my dyskinesia particularly seemed to be related to when the levodopa doses were going up and down rather than necessarily just the peak dose. So she said, she thought maybe a steady state would do better. So sort of suggested maybe I tried the pump. I think I was initially a little bit reluctant. I think it's the word advanced therapy I found quite difficult. But then she did sort of say to me, it's because you're younger and sometimes the symptoms are more complicated to deal with, and sort of explained that a bit to me initially. And so, she brought it up with me first of all.
I think advanced therapy, the terminology is a bit of a barrier for a lot of people because you think, right, advanced treatments, that means exactly, that it's completely, I think there's an effort to sort of rebrand this stuff. I've heard about smart technology or device-aided therapies, I think it is. But I think there's something to do with the language and the terminology that doesn't really sit well with patients. But before we get onto the pump, it'd be great to hear your view because I know a lot of people are confused about the pump. Can you just tell us, were you offered DBS?
Yeah, I was offered DBS. She sort of mentioned the pump first of all, and then also did, I think at a second appointment also was talking a bit more about DBS as well. And I think for me, I was interested in that as well. I think it was sort of weighing up. I think I was a little bit like, thinking, that's quite a big step to have brain surgery and have, this felt like, quite a big thing to do, I guess. But I guess I was thinking, are there things like other treatments that might be coming through, like stem cell therapies in the future? Will that make a difference about whether I've had DBS or not? But I think it was also, I think the main thing for me was, it felt like kind of quite a big step, whereas the pump felt like something is easily reversible, I guess.
So you haven't ruled out DBS down the line?
No, not at all. And I can see some really, I know, it's worked really well for you, Kuhan, and I think lots of other people as well. So, not at all. I think I just, this just felt for me the right step for me to take at that time,
It's the beauty of treatments like DBS, the pump. They're interchangeable almost, right?
Yeah.
Having one doesn't preclude you having another. And there is an increasing trend at the moment whereby people that are on quite a long waiting list for DBS are being offered the pump as a stopgap measure. Dave, do you want to explain where you are in your treatment journey, if that's okay?
Yeah, I've inquired about DBS and I've sort of been taken to the DBS team a bit. And the first thing she said to me was, we might give you a pump as a stopgap before DBS. So I'm very interested in your story to see how you're getting on with it, really.
Yeah.
And how you deal with it day to day.
Yeah. When Dave mentioned that to me, and a few others have told me the same thing, his reaction, if I can put it like this, I don't want to have anything to carry around with me every day because, he wants to go to the pub and play tennis and be active and sociable.
Yeah.
I'm putting words in your mouth a little bit, Dave, here. I hope you don't mind. But also, he didn't want to inject himself and he didn't want that sort of burden to do every day. And I was trying to convey that it's not as cumbersome as that. But I don't know because we never get to see this. It's never really described properly. So I'm hoping, Anna, you can inform us and our listeners what the pump is and how it works and what your daily routine is, if you don't mind.
How long you have it on for a day and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wear it all day, every day. So 24 hours a day. You don't have to. You can take breaks in it, but that's what I've kind of chosen to do. It took me a little while and I can come back to that to sort of adjust to the right level of medication. So I think now I'm a little bit like, I know how it works. I'm not I'm not mucking about with it. So that's for people that haven't seen one. That's what the pump looks like.
Oh, it looks like an old mobile phone from the 1990s, doesn't
It looks
it?
like a Nokia 3510.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fair, it's a chunky
Very
piece of
good, Dave.
equipment. I'm not going to lie. I think there could be better kind of tech around
Yeah.
it. But inside it basically holds a syringe, which has your medication in. That's what you change every day.
That looks like a bog standard syringe you'd see at the doctors when you get your flu
it's
jab
not
and stuff.
very
Yeah,
glamorous.
right.
Bog standard
But
big
that's
syringe,
not the bit that's going into your
no,
body.
the bit that goes into you, and that's the bit that's harder to show. So then it's attached to this on this tubing, and that's the bit that kind of goes into what's attached into you, and that's where the medication comes out. I don't know if you can see that.
What is there a little small needle at the end of it?
Yeah, so you wear it if you don't. I'm only gonna reveal a tiny bit. That's where it goes in. So
It's like a patch.
Yeah, like a patch and it's just very adhesive in there. And then the one bit I can't show because I thought I had one, but and then you get different lengths it's just a tiny, very thin plastic tube that goes into you. So mine is 9 millimeters.
That's
some of them are 6 millimeters. So not very much at all. And it's and you inject
And that
it.
bit is the needle, is it?
Yeah, that's basically essentially what the needle is. And you have one of these every day. This is what the needle gets attached with. It's not very environmentally friendly, I would say, this product.
And you push that down?
And you push that red button and it just
jabs you.
attaches to you. Yeah, and it's kind of...
So it's like a little prick?
Like a little prick. I don't know if you've ever done... I think we might have talked about this, Kuhan. Have you done like a Zoe type test?
I have done a Zoe type test.
Yeah. It's sort of like that. It does depend. I mean, I will say...
Sorry. I knew that would set Dave off. Sorry. It's very childish humour. When we're talking about advanced therapy for Parkinson's, that Dave gets the giggles at the little prick analogy.
No, you set me off.
Sorry about that. So childish.
It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh. Laughter's therapy, isn't it?
I've done a Zoe test, but just to explain it for people again, because it's not an injection. You're not injecting yourself as such. You're pushing down a contraption that kind of...
You're pushing down on this red button here, and that's going to kind of suction it, stick it to your skin. And I guess when you push in there, just this little tiny little bit of plastic stick, I guess, goes just into your skin. So it's not as big as like a full... I mean, I guess it's like a little sting, maybe like a little bee sting. I mean, what's quite good is a nurse gets you can feel it practice on your hand. It doesn't go in, but you get the kind of sensation of it before you do it yourself.
First time you kind of jump, don't you? You kind of get a little bit startled.
Yeah.
And...
You have to move that around every day, do you?
The original guidance was you could move it every 2 or 3 days. But then I think lots of people were starting to get kind of nasty infections on the skin. That can be one of the problems. So infections around the site. I don't really want to jinx myself. I have been lucky and not had one. So where I was treated, they had started saying, actually, we're going to change it every day. And they decided for everyone to use the 9 millimeter and not the 6 millimeter. And they seem to be finding as long as you have a very good you have to keep everything quite hygienic when you're changing everything. And that seems to have worked for me so far. So I change it every day. Change that medication, that syringe every 24 hours. It depends how much medication you use.
The thing that goes into your tummy, right? That's attached to a little translucent tube thing. Is that the cannula bit?
Yeah, that's the cannula bit. Yeah, so then it
then
kind of comes
that leads into that.
Yeah,
and then that thing you carry around on your body all day by way of a pouch or a carrying case of some kind, right?
Yeah. The one you get with from the company is quite a thick leather, quite a hefty thing. I tend to use like a kind of more like a sports band a lot of the time. I just, like something you choose for running, or I've tried to accessorize with nice like glittery purses.
Very nice.
Got someone to make me a rather funky silver bum bag. So, I stand up and down as best I can.
Yeah, but it's an accessory, right?
Yes, it's an accessory. That's what I tried to say. I mean, that is the real downside for me, is carrying that about. I mean, I find like you're talking about sport and stuff, Dave. I find like...
Yeah, what happens if you want to exercise or go to the pool or something?
So exercising absolutely fine in terms of like running, things like that. It's a bit annoying for things like, I like doing yoga. It's slightly annoying because you end up kind of shifting it to your front, to your back. For swimming, you can give yourself like an extra boost, and then you can disconnect for up to an hour. and then you can sort of go swimming or be by the pool. Last summer we went to Italy and I did that for a bit. That's still something I'm working on, like how much you put into your system to last for that amount of time. I wouldn't kind of go off and swim 60 lengths at the moment. I think it would kind of wear off halfway through, but that's just trial and error in terms of those amounts. But yeah, in theory, you can take it off, sit by the pool.
What about travelling with it? Is that an issue?
That's been fine, yeah. That's absolutely fine. I mean, it was quite funny. We went to we flew to Italy last year and I did find myself just kind of waving and pointing at how I was attached to a pump as I went through the kind of security thing. Like, first of all, they don't get it and just like, can you take it off? And then I just ended up like flashing my stomach to the world, showing that it's attached to me. And in fact, I had to go to the Houses of Parliament for work on Monday and had to do the same thing. I had it in the security thing and I was like, I really can't. And yeah, just in Italy, coming back at the airport again, I just was like, I'd learnt the word medico or something. I can't remember what it was now in Italian, but yeah, and just ended up pointing. And they've been all right. And I've got a letter from my nurse that I take with me in case anyone wants to ask, about it. But actually, no one at security's asked for that so far.
Yeah, I found the few times I've gone through airport security style setup, they're used to this sort of thing, implants and in my case, you can't see it. I can't take out my implants in my brain to show them and put it back, right? But they understand. And likewise for something like a pump. So can you then decide on certain days not to wear it? Or does it not work like that?
You absolutely can. So in theory, I think you can decide not to, and you can go back to your oral medication. As I say, I haven't tried that yet, and that's just because it took me quite a while to get it right, and then it's been the winter and things have been going quite well. And so I think in the summer, because I like paddleboarding and stuff, I will try and see if I can brave going back to the medication and stuff. I think it's maybe just a bit of I'm relieved not to have too much dyskinesia and things from this. So it's probably just it's just sort of going back into experimentation.
How much did it change your life then? This you look amazing, I've got to say.
Oh, thank you. It's been massively life changing for me. Definitely, really, really a positive improvement. I'd got to feeling quite fed up about not being able to go out and eat meals with my family at lunchtime and things was really difficult. Those kind of timings. So we'd go on holiday and the family would be eating, and I'd have to have had like some sandwiches or something separate. And then in the evenings, like we went away last Easter. And from about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I just had to sort of disappear because I just was so dyskinetic and uncomfortable. I'd just go and sort of lie in the bedroom and just let the medication wear off. And that was getting quite miserable. So this has been really great for me.
So I knew you in your pre-pump days, Anna, and I would say your dyskinesia was probably not quite as severe as mine, but not far off. Would that be fair to say?
I think so, yeah. I think I hadn't become... Sometimes you're not it creeps up on you. So I think sometimes
it does. And you don't always notice it yourself, do you?
Yeah, until you watch yourself. And I think you watch yourself back and then you're like, oh goodness. Yeah, and I think that was for me quite difficult to manage, I think, in terms of, and particularly with working and things, I found it quite challenging. I run and look after a team at work and it became, and I think, the added anxiety that you sometimes get, I think, when you're speaking or doing things like that, then makes the dyskinesia worse and, you find yourself in a kind of whole loop. So, yeah, it's made a huge difference to me and it's,
Can I ask how quickly that happened?
Yeah, not as quickly as I hoped. And that was one of the things. It's funny that when I went into I took some time off to have the pump, but just thought I'd take off a week, then I'd work, then I'd be at home doing some work and then life would get back to normal kind of from what I'd read and things. Actually, it took more like a couple of months really to adjust and things, and actually ended up having about sort of 6 weeks off from work. And I think, interestingly, sort of halfway through that process, I ended up reading quite a lot from other people, some articles about when they first trialled the pump, and it said more like 10 weeks to adjust. So, I mean, some people, I think, adjust really quickly. That they go on the pump sort of 24 hours, 48 hours later, they're absolutely fine. I think because I was on quite a low doses of medication, or having I think too high doses of medication. My problem at the start was almost the lowest setting was too high for me. And so it was difficult to keep it on overnight, and it was giving me sort of dyskinesia again. And I ended up with sort of too much medication in the system. And that was the tricky thing I found is that, and I've seen a lot of this on forums as well, is that it was kind of strange in that almost if you had too little in your system or too much, it could kind of feel the same. So actually having too much could make you feel like you begin not being able to walk as well or get more anxious. And so you'd think, I haven't got enough in my system and put in more, but you're actually kind of making it worse. And I think I kind of was really desperate for it to work and work well. that I kept probably fiddling with it too much, trying to get the right rate. And it's only when I really slowed down and actually thought, right, I'm just going to take this slow and steady, that it then started to work really well for me. So yeah, it was a rocky start, and I think it was, but I was quite determined because I was struggling, I guess, on the oral medication, and I guess, was thinking, I don't, really want this to work. So
You
I can
you
be a bit stubborn.
persevered.
Yeah.
Well, a bit of stubbornness with this sort of thing, a bit of perseverance sometimes is needed. And there was I don't know if you want to recount this story, but your father sadly passed away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was a moment of inspiration that involved your father that came.
Yeah, it was strange. I had been sort of struggling a bit with it and kept talking to my husband and we're like, should I stop? Should I give up? And then I kind of had this feeling like I was like, I just think I'm on too much. And it's funny, I'd been to see the consultant and things, and they were like, maybe you don't need to have more in your system, and that hadn't seemed to work. And I was like, I think I need to go back down quite a bit of a level, but it felt a bit odd to think that. My dad died about 11 years ago, but before he died, he'd had a stroke and then cancer and things, and he'd really battled back to, after he had a stroke about a year before he got married, and but he really battled to get back, quite a bad one, to rehabilitate so he could walk me down the aisle and stuff, which is lovely. And we've got like a picture of me and him, like halfway up, we've got a sort of dog-leg staircase halfway up the stairs. And I was thinking this, and then I was going upstairs, and it was bizarre. And I'm not someone that always believes in these things, but my dad's picture just kind of flew off the mantelpiece. I mean, I probably knocked it, I probably did something, but it fell off on the floor, and I really felt like it was my dad saying, this is the right thing to do. So I get like a bit like, yeah. But it just kind of felt like that moment of just trust it. And that he was telling me to keep going. So yeah, I do get a bit emotional about that because it's just, a nice kind of, whether it was real or not, it kind of really helped me just sort of be brave at that moment.
Your dad's with you all the way.
All the way. And always will be. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Can I ask, you were talking about adjusting, sort of going up and down. Is that something you can do yourself? There's a little valve or a little setting on that in that contraption where you can dial it up and dial it down?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see like the screen and things, but you have the ability to set it to like 3 different levels. So you can change, I'm doing that, you can change rate.
Is there a turbo boost option?
So they can change the rate, and then there's a boost function. I won't boost right
there
now.
is. I was joking. There is a boost function, is there?
So that's where you feel like you're wearing off a little bit. Or for me, you can find that actually, even though I think it was billed as this will stop you having problems with eating and the impact on the medication, I think they're still finding that there can be competition in the brain from protein. And also my consultant said the other day, because when you digest food, obviously the cannula goes into your skin and you're digesting that way. She said, obviously when you're digesting a big meal, your blood flow moves away from the skin. So she thinks maybe that has an impact. But I find, when I eat lunch or a big meal or something, I'll always boost when I sort of start eating, and that seems to kind of help otherwise.
So just to explain, it is a form of levodopa, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think it's supposed to bypass the gut, which is why they thought it would help for people where they are finding problems with the food interacting with levodopa. And I think it's definitely better than that. But there is still, some people are still finding that there seems to be a bit of competition in your brain or something with protein. Not to the same degree at all, and not for like normal lunches, but I would find like if you go and have like a massive roast dinner, so like a big pudding and stuff, then it definitely, you can wear off after that, because I think your body's just trying to cope with that amount of lovely food, calories, isn't it? So,
do you hear that, Dave?
Yeah, I love my roast dinner, so yeah.
That's his speciality, Yorkshire pudding.
You have to boost for that one.
You have to boost for that.
It sounds like you might need a lot of training for this.
Yeah, it's a bit of trial and error about what works for you in terms of getting used to the right amount. And I guess the problem is it's not like an insulin pump where you obviously where the insulin pump, I think, is reading the amount of insulin, isn't it, or sugar in your blood, and adjusting for you. It's not adaptive. So I guess the issue is that you have to know to recognise those signs where you might be starting to wear off a bit, and therefore might need to boost, or where you might need to go onto a bit of a higher rate. I mean, there's you tend to have a rate that will do you for most of the day activities, and then a higher rate that's for exercising or more stressful situations. But it's kind of getting used to what works for you. I think I'm quite sensitive, as I said, because I'm quite small into changes. So like the difference between my rates and the rate I sleep on is quite small. So my base to my high has only got like a point difference, whereas some other people I've seen on forums will have like a 5-point difference or even a 10-point difference in the rate that they have. And I don't know whether that makes it easier or not. I don't know whether that, I haven't spoken to them, but whether I'm particularly sensitive and that makes it a bit trickier. I don't know.
Yeah. It sounds like those forums for DBS as well, where people are comparing what level of stimulation or what number are you on, what.
Yeah.
Everyone is different, right? You can't compare like that. But it does sound like it's working well for you. Can I ask, it sounds like you can manage those adjustments yourself. I mean, how often have you been back to the hospital to get seen in the last year or so since you've had the pump?
So initially quite regularly, and initially, I was helped by a specialist nurse, and he was great. You go in for a few days out, he blocks out his diary, so you go in for about 2 to 3 days in a row, do adjustments with him. Then he's available by phone to talk to, or to have a last minute appointment if you need to. So I talk to him quite a lot by phone to get support. Yeah, initially there's a code that you have to put in to change the rates, and initially that's locked down. I guess over time they've let me have mine so that you make some little adjustments to it. But you need to be really careful with that and cautious, and it's best to do that in line with your consultant. And so probably I think it's about every 6 months I've been going a bit more. She has been checking on me more regularly. I haven't needed to so much recently, but so more at the start and less so now.
Yeah, no surgery, no hospital stay at the beginning or anything?
No,
Did you stay overnight? No?
No, didn't stay overnight, just went in the day. And I did wonder whether I'd have to come off the levodopa medications before I went in and go in on an off state, which, felt a little bit, always was a bit scary, but actually it didn't. It's just like they manage you in there for most of the whole morning.
Do you take any other medication now? Do you still take any meds at all?
I just take Resergiline. I did start on the Picopain, but I think that caused me quite a lot of problems at the start because you have to get sort of turbocharging it for me. But they tend to, I think, sometimes they'll keep you on some medications and you adjust over time and see whether you want to come off other ones or not. But I hadn't loved the side effects that came from other medications, so I was quite pleased, I think, just to get back on one.
Do you have any side effects now?
Yeah, I mean, I can still get some dyskinesia if I get if I end up with too much in my system, get a bit more dyskinesia. Yeah, if I put too much in, it kind of made me go, and I haven't done that for ages, but right at the start, I ended up with too much, and then I felt quite a little bit out of it, I guess, a bit and got quite, and also anxiety a little bit actually can be a side effect. I don't have that so much at the moment, but you can feel like your anxiety can, as your rate drops, can get worse, or if you put too much in, can get worse. But I think those have been the main side effects for me.
It's also difficult to know what is pump related and what's not, and what you would have been like without the pump, right?
Yeah, I've heard other people say, and I think I listened to someone else that you'd spoken to, Kuhan, that said, I think what's slightly strange is it doesn't, even though it's the same drug, levodopa, and I don't know how to explain this because it's hard to even explain how levodopa works, isn't it, in terms of how it makes you feel. But I think it feels slightly different in the brain to the levodopa tablets. Definitely one thing my nurse said to me is, I don't know if you experienced this, Dave, and have Kuhan, but I always used to feel like I kind of would, particularly when I'd take my medication in the morning, someone once said to me it's like going from first to fourth gear or something when it kicks in, like a sudden oh, right, I'm off and running type thing. You don't get that. It's more subtle than that. That can feel quite odd to begin with because you're kind of, I think you're almost expecting that feeling and that sensation. And then, it's very hard to explain. It just doesn't, it doesn't feel quite the same as that. And I feel like sometimes I feel like it's a bit bizarre in that you can be feeling a bit off and then go disconnect it almost like from one to the other, but not very often. But so it just feels a little bit different. But as I said, it's hard to put my finger on what, but feels slightly different in the brain.
Sounds like it's been an absolute revelation for you.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it definitely has.
Dave, you know how you say to me, like, my DBS has been sort of life-changing?
Yeah.
And it has. I mean, like, Anna, you're completely transformed from when I first met you. Completely. Everything. I know Parkinson's is a lot more than meets the eye, right? A lot more than what you see. But just even in your speech, your manner, your facial expressions, the lack of dyskinesia. There's a video where you and I went to an event where both of us were talking at the same event, and I think I was on straight after you. There's a clip of that. I might play it back over this because the transformation in both of us my case through DBS and your case through the Produodopa pump, is wow. It's like amazing. I mean, and those sorts of days don't seem like a struggle anymore. So much of a struggle anymore, right? And you're still working, aren't you?
Yeah, still working. I live in Hampshire, but I go up to London round about once a week to work. I won't say it's not tiring. It's not, life isn't back to pre what it was having Parkinson's, but it's definitely a lot easier than I've got. And as you say, Kuhan, a lot of my friends and things and colleagues have said, just a massive difference in me. I guess I feel like more like my old self again. I think I felt like everything had become, much more of a struggle. And so I just feel more relaxed with it. As I say, it's not, perfect every day, but definitely, a lot better.
You've certainly changed my thoughts on it, because I've been offered it as well. So it's definitely a potential.
Yeah, definitely worth a go. So I really think someone needs to work on this design, because
it will get better, right? It will get better over time. And it's a bit chunky, but a chunky monkey, as Nurse Becky called it on our previous episode. It is a bit of a beast, but relatively small price to pay, and probably hear it in Dave's reaction. Don't dismiss it out of hand. It has its place. No. It can be quite life-changing, right? Can we just spend a minute, Anna, on your work? Because I'm quite amazed at what you do. A, you're still working this many years into Parkinson's, and B, the sort of work that you do with the charity Pancreatic Cancer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've actually worked at the charity for kind of 14 years. So I joined the charity Pancreatic Cancer UK. That when it was really tiny, actually, there were just 4 of us, and I originally joined there to set up our services for people with pancreatic cancer. And then we grew and are doing like more research funding and things now. So pancreatic cancer, we talk about it as being the deadliest common cancer. It's got a 5-year survival rate of just 7%. And that really hasn't changed in 40 years. And it's incredibly, half of people diagnosed will die within 3 months. So it's a really nasty disease. Very, and really neglected. And I think there's been a lot of nihilism around it. And I think, we talked before about comparisons. I think a lot of has changed now in terms of the research that's going into Parkinson's, but I think there are some similarities I've seen in terms of, a disease that was quite neglected for a while. We do lots of work as a charity to try and get more research happening into the disease. And then we provide support services, so a helpline and information and sort of online groups and communities for those diagnosed and their family members and their loved ones. And then we sort of lobby and campaign to try and get government to take more action on pancreatic cancer, and I lead that work across the charity.
Very similar to the role of Parkinson's UK, right?
Yeah.
But pancreatic cancer gets 5 times less funding than other cancers, I hear.
Yes. So it gets 5 times less than other cancers, and that's one of the reasons it's been really left behind. And just as thought too difficult to do anything about, too difficult to diagnose, too difficult to treat. But we're starting to see some real signs of progress now, which is really brilliant. So a new breath test to help. One of the problems is it's diagnosed quite late. So we're funding an exciting new breath test that potentially could help get it diagnosed earlier. And we're working a lot. Also, there's been similar again to Parkinson's, lots of delays with problems of people getting diagnosed, vague symptoms that get dismissed as other things like back pain or abdominal symptoms, which also delays people getting diagnosed and being able to have treatment. So we do also a lot to try and educate and push for better diagnosis and faster access into treatment and things. So,
Wonderful.
Keep on the amazing work.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine you doing a similar role in the future with the likes of Parkinson's UK, actually, because it needs that kind of lived experience type of person. Can I finish on Ted Lasso, if I may?
Oh, yes. Love a bit of Ted Lasso.
I know you love a bit of Ted Lasso. And there's a certain Ted Lasso quote that you like to recite, right?
Oh,
Can you just tell us about that?
Yeah, I think it's, now I haven't said it for a while, but it said, I believe in hope, I believe and believe, which I just really like. And I think it just, his kind of whole attitude towards hopefully more positive things coming in the future. And I think, I try to be on my good days, I definitely try to be more of an optimist, glass half full person. So I like to think that, good things will hopefully start to come and that we'll find more and more to help people with Parkinson's. I mean, I definitely do think that, things like the pump, I guess, weren't around when I was first diagnosed, and that has been a massive development. I guess DBS is improving all the time, and hopefully there's some better science coming this way. So, yeah.
Anna, Kuhan, there's always hope. Always hope.
Yeah.
Always
Exactly.
hope. Always hope. Thank you so much for joining us, Anna. This is great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Are you convinced yet, Dave?
I'm a lot more convinced than I was. It seems to be working well for her. I was worried about infections and that sort of thing. She hasn't had problems with that. The quality of life has improved so much because of it. It's made me think about it now.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, don't dismiss any of these things. Nobody wants a pump. Nobody wants brain surgery. Nobody wants these things. But if it's going to help you and change your life and allow you to do stuff that you can't do anymore, then have the chat, have the discussion. As you heard from Dave, it's a just different level of care when you get to this stage. It is a bit of a chunky unit, right? That brick of a pump she was carrying around.
As our Parkinson's nurse said, it's a chunky monkey.
It is a chunky monkey.
You'd think technology had moved on a bit. They could get it smaller than that. I'm sure it will happen, but, it's quite a big thing at the moment. I don't fancy wearing a man bag all day, which is one of the reasons I don't, and it might interfere with my life. So, playing tennis and things might be difficult. But as you said, you can take it off for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
You can carry on, so.
Bit of trial and error. And another guest of ours today, Helga's also had a bit of trial and error with the same Produodopa pump, and we can hear from her now.
Hello, gentlemen. What an honour to be on the King of Parkinson's podcast. I'm very grateful to you for inviting me on to talk about Produodopa, because I'm a bit of a Produodopa crusader. I first started on it in December 24 when oral medication just didn't work for me anymore, and I was the first person in my health board area to get it. This transition onto it was absolutely seamless. I couldn't believe it. I went into hospital on oral medication, put the pump on, came out again and hadn't even noticed the swap, and I felt so good, like the clock had turned back years on my Parkinson's. Within days, I realised what a difference having a consistent amount of dopamine in your body made, and it really highlighted how much your natural demand for dopamine changes throughout the day. What I didn't know at the time was that it was a little bit of a honeymoon period, and within a couple of weeks I started to get off periods, and that was when some hard work started, and that's really my message for today. It's brilliant, but be ready, it's not just going to be plain sailing. I suppose the biggest problem is the skin problems that people have had, and that showed up in the trials for it, but I think the real life experience has really brought home the medicine itself is quite viscous. I'm sure if you dripped it onto the bonnet of your car, it would be down to the metal in about 30 seconds. And then the cannula, which is the little needle that it goes into under your skin with, that is stuck on by an adhesive that's quite strong so it doesn't come off. That can irritate your skin, leave red marks, and you have to change it every day. So you can have quite a search looking for a bit of skin that looks fresh enough to use. The medicine as well, because it's quite thick, once it goes under your skin, it just doesn't all magically disperse around your body sometimes. You get what's called pooling. It's when it all gathers in one place, and sometimes it can cause you to go off because it's not getting into your system and being absorbed by it. So you have to really look after your skin. You have to massage it. I find a spiky ball, like a physiotherapist uses, is very good because you do get all kinds of lumps and bumps and bruises and things where the little bit of medicine has pooled. And of course, with anything where you're breaking the skin, you've got to have impeccable hygiene. Otherwise, you're going down the road of infection in no time. I've been really lucky. I've had one infection in a year, but I know plenty of people who've had umpteen, and it really isn't very pleasant at all. The dosaging is the next problem, I think, that can take a long, long time to sort out. There are 3 levels of dosaging. You get a table from the drug company AbbVie that is a starting point, but it's taken me nearly a year to find the right dosages for me. I think as well, there's a bit of a misapprehension that somehow because it goes under your skin and you don't have to digest it, it's instant. Well, it's not. The drug company AbbVie say that it is not affected by food at all. Well, I certainly find it is affected, and I've spoken to many, many people as well who with Produodopa who say it is affected. Not nearly as badly, and it takes a bit longer to kick in, but there definitely is a protein effect. It's a very different drug, I feel, personally, from the oral levodopa. It reacts differently, it feels different, the sensations it gives you is different. It can project me from being off to having Olympic-level peak dose dyskinesia in 5 seconds, which I've never experienced with oral medication. But having said that, I truly do believe that infusions are the future of Parkinson's medication. I have to say, though, whilst it is the Formula One of treatments, it's such a shame that this fantastic 21st century racing car is controlled by an Austin Maestro from about 1987. We're all carrying around a kind of thing that looks like an old 1990s brick phone. I was going to be polite and say it's retro. It's not. It's archaic. It looks like it's made of a recycled Amstrad computer, brittle off-white plastic. It's very basic in the way it works, malfunctions quite a lot. I think I'm on my 4th pump. And seriously, surely they can do something better. It's huge and it's heavy. If I went for a jog, I'd have about 5 broken ribs before I got to the bottom of the drive with that bashing against me. That's where the biggest improvement needs to be. I still would never part with it. And I will never be able to thank my neurologist enough for making the decision to put an application in for me to have it. And I thank NHS Grampian for saying yes, because they could have easily said no in the middle of a deep financial crisis, and they were able to see past that and see the patient. So Dr. Angus MacLeod in Aberdeen, thank you, and NHS Grampian, thank you. It's a brilliant treatment, but go into it with your eyes open. Be patient, it will work.
I thought that was superb from Helga. Really.
Oh, what a pro. What a pro.
Amazing. Ex-BBC reporter, that's why. She's fantastic.
Can you tell?
Incredible. Yeah.
Anna
and her, both brilliant, but, you know.
Yeah, very, very similar as well. The thing that I notice is they're two individuals that can sort of advocate for themselves, have this sort of discussion with their healthcare team. They can ask the right sort of questions. They're willing to go through a bit of trial and error. Not everybody's like that, right, Dave? Not everybody's in that position that they're confident to do that. But hopefully listening to episodes like this and cases like Helga's and Anna's, that you're able now, better equipped to ask the right sort of questions.
And hopefully, you know, it's giving you a very balanced view as well, because Helga and Anna both had different problems. Helga's had more infections and things like that. And, you know, I thought it was a really, really balanced piece, that. Very, very interesting.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
Good and bad, trade-offs as ever. But there's hope. There's options.
Hope, yeah. It's changed lives, both of their lives massively. So,
exactly.
you know, good on them, both of them, talking about it.
Yeah. Talking about upbeat, positive stories, Dave. Have we got anything in the amazing things bag, by any chance?
It's funny you should mention that, Kuhan, because we have. Let's go.
Yeah.
With Parkinson's, do amazing things.
A big two-parky shout-out to David Berry, who recently sang at the Albert Hall. He was part of a choir performed alongside a group of school children. Here's a little taster.
Well done, David, yoga buddy of ours.
Top man, yeah. Imagine singing at the Albert Hall. Brilliant.
People with Parkinson's do amazing things.
Next up, congratulations to everybody who took part in the Dundee Kilt Walk. They included Ewan, and who's living with Parkinson's. He brought 18 members of his family to walk the 20 miles with him. They raised a load of dosh in the process for Parkinson's UK.
Well done, David, and the Dundee crew.
Kilt Walk. I fancy a kilt walk. I've got a Scottish great-grandmother. I think I'm entitled to wear a kilt.
Have you ever worn a kilt?
I have, actually, yeah.
Right, that's the challenge. For the next episode, I want to see you in a kilt.
A Sri Lankan killed. I bet there's not one of those.
There is actually.
Is there?
No. Well, I can wear a sarong. David Beckham style. That's quite traditional, actually.
That's so wrong.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah.
Let's crack on.
People with Parkinson's do amazing things.
Well done to the team who just completed filming of Onward and Sideways, the new movie about living with Parkinson's. It features a story about a couple who met at a Parkinson's book ballet class. It was written by Paul Mayhew Archer, who also has Parkinson's.
Yay! Well done, guys. Yeah, well done. Richard Curtis is it as well? Who else is involved?
Richard Curtis isn't involved, but Rhys Ifans?
The guy in Notting Hill.
Yeah, came out in his underpants, yeah. And Laura Linney as well. Laura
Came
Linney's
out in
in
his
it as well.
kilt.
People with Parkinson's do amazing things.
The Parkinson's rower Lester Murphy has become a British and world champion. He's done this in the PR3 PD category for rowers with Parkinson's on the Concept 2 rowing machine. We heard about him doing it last time, and he's got even better now. World record holder. Incredible.
Oh, the same guy we featured last time, is it?
Yeah.
Well done. He's got a world record. Wow.
He's got a world record
Well
and
done.
a British record now.
Yay.
Fantastic.
People with Parkinson's do amazing things.
And finally, Billy Connolly has landed a new job as a tour guide at the Kelvin Grove Museum in Glasgow. He's the voice of a new audio guide featuring personal stories and insights into 12 of his favourite works at the art gallery. No, keep him down, is the Billy Connolly. Amazing.
No.
An art collection out last week. Today he's doing an audio guide.
Well done. Is that it today, Dave?
That's it. That's all we got. Yeah, all we got time for, I think.
Yay. Right, we'll see you guys next time. We're going to be talking about the different types of Parkinson's with a leading professor in the field. So that's the next episode. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already. There's quite a few of you out there that haven't subscribed. So we know
Naughty
who you
people.
are.
Naughty people.
Yeah.
Come and see teacher afterwards.
We don't know who you are. That sounds a bit freaky. But please do subscribe, rate, leave a review, send us a message at hello@twoparkiesinapod.com. We'd love to hear from you. And
Love your voice messages as well.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
See you. Love you. Bye.
You've been listening to Two Parkies in a Pod, a Parkinson's podcast with Dave and Kuhan. To get in touch, visit the website twoparkiesinapod.com or send your voice notes or emails to hello@twoparkiesinapod.com.